Hey everyone, it's Kivemi here and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm diving into a story I found about drawing a very firm line, specifically how a person's whole family got mad at them because they said no to being their free full-time babysitter just so they could take a well-deserved trip. This one is full of surprises, so get comfortable, enjoy the calm background Minecraft, and let's get into this heavy family mess. I said I would not keep babysitting for my brother and his wife, and that made my entire family turn against me. They are angry that I am going on holiday instead of looking after their child. I, a 27-year-old man, have been dealing with a problem involving my older brother, Ken, 34M, his wife, Maya, 31F, and their young son, Leo, a 5M. The situation has completely exploded. It all began last year when Ken and Maya moved to my city, because Maya got a job offer she really wanted. I work as a software writer from my house with flexible times. This has helped me build a good life here over the last 6 years since I first moved from Lisbon. When they first moved, they would sometimes ask me to watch Leo, maybe once every 2 weeks. It was usually for a few hours when they had appointments or wanted a date night. I don't really like children. I never have and never wanted my own. But Leo was usually good and quiet. He would sit and play with his toys or watch cartoons while I did my work. It wasn't a big deal, and I was happy to help them get used to their new life in the city. Ken worked from home like me, but for a different company. He managed most of the childcare during the day, while Maya was at her office job. Their setup seemed to work for them, and I was just the occasional help. My girlfriend, Lena, 26F, and I were still able to live our life, which included travelling somewhere at least once a month. We both love seeing new places and make it a big priority. Everything changed about 8 months ago. Ken came over for coffee one morning and told me he was changing careers. He had always wanted to work in landscape design, and he found a first-level job at a company nearby. The problem was that he had to be in the office 5 days a week, and he would earn a lot less money, nearly 40% less than before. He seemed really excited about it, so I congratulated him. What Ken forgot to say that day was how his new job would affect me. Within 2 weeks, Maya called, asking if I could watch Leo the next day. Then it was 2 days that week. Before I knew it, I was watching Leo 3 or 4 days every week for 6 to 8 hours at a time. My job suffered. I had to change meeting times and delay deadlines. My boss started seeing that I was doing less work. To make things worse, Leo's behaviour changed a lot. He went from being a quiet, well-behaved kid to a complete nightmare. He started running through my apartment, screaming loudly during my video calls. He would stop me constantly, demanding attention and snacks. He broke 2 of my special collector figurines that I had on shelves. When I tried to teach him rules, he would throw fits, crying and screaming until I gave up. I talked to Ken about it twice. The first time he said sorry and promised to talk to Leo about being better. Nothing changed. The second time he got angry, saying Leo was just being a normal child and that I needed to be more patient. Maya started dropping Leo off with bags full of loud toys that kept him busy, but made it impossible for me to focus. The real point where things broke happened 3 weeks ago. Maya arrived to pick up Leo after I'd watched him for 9 hours straight. While Leo was getting his things, Maya looked around my living room, stopping in front of my glass coffee table. Maya rubbed her hand along the table edge and said I should really get rid of it before Leo hurt himself. She pointed to my bookshelves and said those should be screwed into the wall. Then she saw my art collection on the mantelpiece and suggested I put those away somewhere safe. Before leaving, she laughed and said they should probably child-proof my place properly, since they were planning to have another baby soon, a little girl they wanted to try for this year, meaning I would be watching 2 kids instead of 1. I stood there quietly, trying to take in what she had just said. My apartment is modern and simple, with furniture I chose carefully. The glass coffee table was an expensive item I bought after getting my first big work bonus. She was basically telling me to change my home to fit her children I never agreed to raise. Last week, Lena and I were sitting on my balcony, talking about our plans for a future trip. We hadn't been able to travel for 3 months because of my babysitting duties, and Lena was angry about it. I promised her a 2-week trip to Thailand for Valentine's Day, starting February 15th. We were excited, looking at hotels and planning what we would do, when Ken and Maya arrived without calling first to drop off Leo. They heard our talk about Thailand. Ken's face immediately looked angry, and Maya folded her arms. After Leo ran off to the guest room where I keep some toys for him, Ken asked how I planned to watch Leo if I was going to be out of the country for 2 weeks. Before I could answer, Maya quickly said I needed to stop these childish trips and start acting like a responsible uncle. Something inside me burst. The months of being angry, the stopping of my work, the way they thought they owned my time and home. It all came out. I told them that their son was not my job, and that I wasn't going to put my life on hold because they couldn't find proper childcare. I pointed out that I never agreed to be their full-time sitter and that Leo's behaviour had become impossible to manage while trying to work. Ken called me selfish. Maya said I clearly did not understand family duty. I replied by saying that family duty didn't mean being used, and if they couldn't afford a sitter on Ken's new wage, then maybe he should have thought about that before changing his job. The fight got bigger from there. Maya called me immature and said I was wasting money on unnecessary holidays when I could be helping them. I told them that what I do with my money is not their business. Ken brought up how our parents always helped each other, and I reminded him that helping sometimes was very different from what they expected from me. By the end, Maya was crying. Ken was bright red with anger, and I was shaking with rage. They grabbed Leo and his things and quickly left. Ken texted me later that night saying I'd let him down and that he never thought I would turn my back on family. The next day, I got calls from both my parents and Maya's parents. My father called me irresponsible and said I should be ashamed for not helping my brother. My mother reminded me that family comes first and that my trips could wait until Leo was older. Maya's mother sent me a long text about how I'd made her daughter cry and how family members should help each other during hard times. I haven't replied to any of them. I turned off my phone alerts after getting too many messages. Lena is supportive, but worried about the family split. I've been looking at the ceiling every night, wondering if I am really wrong here. Am I the bad guy for refusing to keep being their free sitter and for choosing my own life and relationship? Update 1. It has been 3 weeks since my last post, and a lot has changed. First, I want to thank everyone who commented. Reading your messages helped me realise I was not crazy for feeling used. Many of you pointed out that Ken has always been the favourite child in our family, which hit me harder than I thought. Looking back, this favouring is a big reason why I moved far away for university and stayed away after getting a good job. Before I talk about what happened next, let me give a little more information that might help explain the problem better. The city I live in has one of the highest costs for living in the whole country. When Ken and Maya decided to move here, they did very little planning with money. They thought that with both their incomes they would be fine, and they were, until Ken took a 40% pay cut for his new job. I didn't know how bad their money problems had become until recently. They are living in an apartment that costs too much for their current income. They have 2 car payments, and Maya's student debt is huge. They've been living on credit cards for months. None of this excuses how they treated me, but it explains some of why they were so desperate. Some information about my family. Our parents came here from Brazil when Ken was 7 and I was a baby. They worked many jobs to provide for us, so Ken often took care of me after school. My parents see this as the same kind of help. In their minds, Ken helped raise me, so now I should help with Leo. The cultural expectation of family. Help is very strong in our house. I moved to my current city 8 years ago for university on a scholarship and stayed after getting a good job offer. Ken lived in Nebraska with Maya's family for several years before moving here. Our parents still live in our first town in New Jersey, and Maya's parents are in Nebraska. There is a lot of distance between us, which probably makes their anger more intense. They want us to stick together since we are the only family members in this city. After taking some time to calm down and think about the advice I got, I decided to try talking one more time with Ken and Maya. I asked them to meet at a coffee shop near their apartment last weekend. Neutral ground seemed safer than my place or theirs. When we sat down, I started by saying sorry for calling Leo a nightmare child and for some of the meaner things I said during our fight. I explained that while I still believed I could not keep being their regular sitter, I regretted how I showed my anger. Ken seemed open to talking at first. He accepted my apology and agreed that they had been asking too much of me. For a moment, I thought we might understand each other. Then Maya spoke up. She said that while she liked my apology, I clearly did not understand how hard it is to raise a child in this expensive city. She mentioned that our parents had called them many times, telling them to rely on me more, not less, because I was single and free. completely ignoring my 5-year relationship with Lena. I was shocked to learn that both sets of parents had been actively telling Ken and Maya to use me as their childcare solution. According to Maya, my mother had told her that I needed to grow up and take on family duties, and that my travelling life was selfish. Maya's parents had apparently suggested that since I worked from home and made good money, I should be happy to help family. I explained to them how tired and angry I had become over the past months. I told them how my work had suffered, how Lena and I had cancelled 3 planned trips, and how the constant stopping was affecting my mind and health. I made it clear that while I cared about them and Leo, I simply could not keep watching him regularly anymore. They needed to find a different childcare plan. The conversation changed when Maya asked what I thought they should do instead. Before I could suggest daycare or after-school programs, she said the surprising thing. If I would not watch Leo, then the least I could do was pay for his childcare and help with some of their other bills. After all, I had enough money to fly off to another country every month. I was speechless. The request was not totally shocking, given how they had acted, but the entitlement in her voice was unbelievable. I might have thought about helping them with money under different circumstances, if they had asked me nicely and treated my time and home with respect. But after months of using me, followed by guilt trips and family, pressure, this demand was the final straw. I stood up without a word and walked out of the coffee shop. My phone started buzzing with texts from Ken before I even reached my car. I put it on Do Not Disturb and drove home. When I looked at my messages later that night, I had texts from Ken, Maya, my parents, and even Maya's parents, all saying they were disappointed in my selfishness and abandoning of family. I haven't replied to any of them. Instead, I confirmed my trip to Thailand with Lena, planned a meeting with my boss to discuss getting back on track with my work, and spent the weekend changing my apartment back to how I liked it before Leo visited all the time. Many commenters suggested cutting off contact with my family. I was not ready to do that at first. Despite everything, they are still my family. But how they reacted to this problem has made me realise that they do not see me as an adult with my own life and priorities. So for now, I am keeping my distance and focusing on fixing the damage to my work and relationship. Am I doing the right thing here? Has anyone dealt with family members who only see you as something to be used? Update 2. It has been about 2 months since my last update, and the problem has grown in ways I never thought it would. I waited to post because I needed time to process everything and decide what to do next. After my last update, I went on the Thailand trip with Lena as planned. It was exactly what we needed. 2 weeks away from the drama, seeing beautiful beaches and temples, and connecting again as a couple. I kept my phone off most of the time, only checking work emails sometimes. It was the first time in months that I felt like I could breathe freely. When we came back, there were many missed calls and messages from my family. Most were saying the same thing. I was selfish, irresponsible, and leaving my family when they needed help. My mother left one message that hurt a lot, saying she had failed as a parent if this is how I treat family. I deleted most of the messages without hearing them all. What I did not expect was to find a letter taped to my apartment door. It was from Ken, written by hand on paper. Unlike the angry texts and calls, this letter had a completely different feeling. He said sorry for using my time and for not respecting my space. He admitted that they had been using me as a free sitter and that it was unfair. He explained that after our coffee shop meeting, he and Maya had a serious talk about their money and priorities. The letter also said that he had taken a second job, working evenings and weekends at a home improvement store to help pay their bills. They had also found a daycare that offered a lower price based on their income. Most surprising, he wrote that he had stood up to our parents about their part in the problem, telling them to stop pressuring me and that he needed to solve his own issues. I was unsure at first. The sudden change seemed too good to be true. After months of them feeling entitled and making me feel guilty, I decided to wait a few days before replying to see if this was just another trick. 4 days after finding the letter, I got a text from a number I did not know. It was from Ken's co-worker at the design company, who got my number from Ken's emergency contact list. Ken had collapsed at work and was taken to the hospital. The doctor thought it was due to being too tired and possible stress-related health issues. I went to the hospital right away. When I got there, Maya was there with Leo, who was very quiet and sad. Maya looked terrible. dark circles under her eyes, messy hair, wearing what looked like the same clothes from the day before. She did not seem angry to see me, just defeated. While Ken was sleeping, Maya told me what had been happening since our last talk. Ken was working his regular 45 hours a week at the design job, then 20 hours at the hardware store in the evenings and weekends. Maya had also picked up extra shifts at her job. They were barely seeing each other, switching off childcare when they weren't working. The daycare was helping, but it was still too much money. What shocked me the most was learning that my parents and Maya's parents had basically cut them off after Ken defended me. According to Maya, when Ken told our parents to stop pressuring me, my father told him he needed to be a man and handle his responsibilities without complaining. Maya's parents were also unhelpful, suggesting they move back to Nebraska if they couldn't make it work in the city. Ken was allowed to leave the hospital the next day with orders to rest and lower his stress. I drove them home and saw their apartment for the first time in months. It was very messy, not at all like the organised home they used to keep. There were piles of clothes, unwashed dishes, and toys everywhere. Proof of their exhaustion was clear in every corner. I stayed to help clean up while Ken rested. Maya and I had an honest talk about their situation. She admitted that they were drowning financially, emotionally, and physically. The move to the city, Ken's job change, the high cost of living. It had all become too much. She said sorry for how she acted toward me, especially for demanding money at the coffee shop. She explained that she had been desperate and listening too much to what her parents and my parents were saying about my duty to help. The most important part of our talk was when she confessed that she felt angry about Ken's job change. She had supported it publicly because he seemed so excited, but the money problems that followed had been terrible for them. This anger had been spreading into other parts of their lives, including how they handled childcare and their relationship with me. I left their apartment with mixed feelings. On one hand, I was still hurt by how they had treated me and worried about being pulled back into their problems. On the other hand, seeing them struggling so openly without the anger and sense of ownership they had shown before made me think about not completely cutting them off. After talking about it with Lena, I decided on a middle ground. I would not go back to regular babysitting or give them money directly, but I would help them find more long-lasting solutions for their problem. I'm still keeping my boundaries, but I'm not totally cutting them out either. I will post another update once things change more. Right now, I'm trying to figure out how to help my brother and his family without giving up my own life and priorities. Update 3. It has been 1 month since my last update, and I think this will be my final post on this problem. Things have now settled into what feels like a working arrangement, though getting here was very difficult. After Ken's health scare, I hired a financial advisor as a one-time gift for them. The advisor spent 3 meetings going over their money and helping them create a realistic budget and debt payment plan. It was a huge learning experience for both Ken and Maya. The advisor told them the hard truth. They were spending too much money in almost every area, from their apartment to their car payments to their credit card use. Based on the advisor's advice, Ken and Maya made some hard but needed choices. They broke their lease and moved to a smaller apartment in a less expensive area. They sold one of their cars and started using buses and trains more often. They made a strict budget for food and other expenses. Most importantly, they found a cheaper daycare for Leo, a family-run daycare home that charged half of what they were paying before. Ken cut back his hours at the home improvement store to just 1 evening and 1 weekend day, which helped his health improve. Maya's workplace agreed to let her work from home 2 days a week, which saved money on childcare for those days. They are still struggling with money, but the situation is no longer as desperate as it was before. As for our relationship, we have set clear rules. I agreed to watch Leo on Saturday a month so they can have a date night or get some rest. This plan has been working well for several reasons. It's planned ahead of time, it's limited to 1 day a month, and Leo's behaviour has gotten much better now that his parents are less stressed and more present. The most surprising change was with my parents. After staying silent for weeks, I finally called my mother to hear her side of things. The talk was tense at first, with her insisting that I needed to do more for Ken and Maya. I calmly explained my view, that I'd been helping them for months at a great cost to my own work and relationship, and that their expectations had become unfair. What I did not expect was for her to start crying halfway through our talk. She admitted that she and my father had been sending Ken money every month until he stood up for me. At that point, they stopped giving him money. Their anger toward me was not just about my refusal to babysit. It was also about their own guilt for stopping their financial support of Ken and Maya. In their minds, if I took over, they could feel better about their choice to stop helping. This discovery changed how I understood the entire situation. My parents had been allowing Ken's money problems for years, long before he and Maya moved to my city. When they finally stopped, they expected me to take over that role. The pressure they put on me was a way to deal with their own guilt and confusion about finally setting limits with Ken. I've had several talks with my parents since then. While we don't agree on everything, we have reached a better understanding of each other's views. They've even started to see that my choices in life, though different from what they wanted for me, are not wrong or selfish, just different. Maya's parents have been less willing to change. They still believe that families should give up everything for each other, no matter the cost. This has caused some stress between Maya and her parents, which she's been trying to handle. As for Lena and me, we're back to our regular travel schedule, though we've changed it slightly to fit my monthly babysitting commitment. We recently returned from a week in Mexico and are planning a trip to Lisbon later this year. My work is better now that I'm not constantly stopped, and I even got a raise last month. What I've learned from this whole experience is that helping family is important, but not if it hurts my own health and future. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it is necessary for healthy relationships. Ken and Maya needed to face the truth about their money problems without using me as a safety net. The short-term pain led to long-term improvements in their lives and in our relationship as siblings. I don't regret standing firm, though I wish I had done it more calmly and clearly from the start. The next time Ken, Maya, or my parents try to push past my limits, I'll deal with it right away instead of letting anger build up until I explode. For now, we found a balance that works for everyone. I'm hopeful that we can keep this healthier way of relating, though I know there will probably be small problems along the way. At the very least, we are all more aware of our behaviours, which makes it easier to handle disagreements when they happen. Thank you to everyone who gave advice and support during this journey. It's been a tough few months, but I'm in a better place now, both with my family and in knowing myself better. And that is the final part of this powerful family childcare story. It turns out that standing up for yourself is the only way to get some people to finally respect you. It was a hard lesson for the original poster in making clear boundaries and dealing with a lot of family pressure. I'm so glad things are finally looking good for them. Let me know in the comments what you thought about their parents' role in all this. Thanks for sticking around with me, and I'll see you in the next story with the usual relaxing Minecraft in the background.